To see a smile on the face of someone you love is worth whatever it may have cost to get it there. I honestly don't think there is anything I cannot do for my sister, and my story is about one of such things. My name is Ariyike. I have only one sibling, my younger sister, and she is my best friend. The age gap between us is about 15 months, and we could easily pass for twins. It has always been us looking out for each other and taking care of each other. My parents broke up when I was 10 and she was 9. And even though we mostly stayed with my mother, we spent holidays and sometimes weekend with my dad. My mom was extremely busy because she worked as a company secretary, so we were mostly on our own till she got back home from work. She cooked our lunch and put it in food warmers, and the school bus took us to and from school. We had to grow up fast because there was no one to fall back on. We would wash our clothes, do our schoolwork, and tidy the house before our mom came back. We kept to ourselves in our neighborhood, but we were never lonely because we had each other. Both of us loved to read very much, and if there was one thing our dad did for us, it was to buy us novels as often as he could. Whenever we were with him, we would go to the bookshops and pick as many novels as we wanted, so we always had books to read. In our teenage years, we both dreamed of what our marriages and children would be like. We imagined getting married on the same day and living not too far from each other so that our children could be best friends just like we were. But of course, life had other plans for us. Atinuke, my sister, got married before me. She was not happy to leave me behind, but I encouraged her to do it. We went to the same university, and she started dating Shayo, her husband, when she was in her 3rd year. I was in my final year at the time. They had dated for about 4 years when he asked her to marry him. I had been in 2 relationships that did not work out. In my opinion, it made no sense for her to wait for me. I was her chief bridesmaid and I was so excited for her. It would be another 2 years before I met my husband, Ed, and we got married about a year later. Atinuke was my maid of honor too. Our dreams of living next to each other did not work either. She lived in Lagos with Shayo, while Ed and I moved to Abuja where he worked. I had to get a transfer from my job to join him. The distance may have kept us apart physically, but it did not stop us from talking almost every day. I had my first child 11 months after I got married, but Atinuke had no child yet after over 4 years of being married. She had been told that she had fibroids and most likely these affected her fertility. I had 2 more children over the next 3 years and still my sister had not got pregnant. She tried to bear it with grace, but I knew it bothered her, especially since we both loved children. After having my 3rd child, I began to nurse the idea of having a baby for my sister. I first mooted it to her as a joke, and we laughed about it, but after a while, I spoke to her seriously. She maintained that she did not want to stress me and that I was not obliged to do it. My baby was 1 at the time. When I insisted that it was something I wanted to do, she warmed up to the idea But she did not want to get too excited about it until we spoke to our husbands. My husband was a bit hesitant at first because he felt it would be awkward, but I was able to convince him and he eventually agreed. I had resigned from my job at the bank after my second child and I ran my own financial consulting business, so I had control of my time. My sister and her husband were excited. 2 of her eggs were harvested and fertilized with his sperm, and they were transferred to me. Thankfully, it worked the very first time. Both embryos attached, and so I carried twins for my sister and eventually gave birth to a boy and a girl. I moved to Lagos before the pregnancy started showing to avoid any questions. My sister cried the day she carried her babies. I never breastfed them, and once I was cleared after the birth, I left them entirely to her care. They are 12 years old now, and I don't feel anything for them more than an auntie's love. I am so glad I could support my sister to fulfill her dreams of motherhood. It was a big sacrifice, but it is worth the joy I know she feels today. What are your thoughts about Ariyike and Atinuke's situation? Please share in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to my channel and to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos.